Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Hancock. I am the founder of a company called Humanist Learning Systems, where I teach people how to do humanistic management. I also teach people how to use behavioral psychology to stop unwanted behaviors like bullying and harassment. And then I combine the two into a very ethical, science-based approach that works to solve problems in interpersonal dynamics and in the workplace. And education is a workplace. And I'm really happy that Dr. Munir Musa invited me to share my thoughts on humanistic leadership, and specifically humanistic leadership in educational settings. So what is humanistic leadership and what does it mean, right? Humanism is a philosophy. It's an ethical philosophy that is about being the best human being we can. And it's about figuring out what it means to be and to do good, and then doing that. And in the context of humanity, this actually tends to mean the same thing all over the world, right? We have different cultures, we have different backgrounds, different religious beliefs, but there's some commonalities to how people have answered the question, how to be good, that are actually fairly universal. And one of these things is to be compassionate. That's the value that rates the highest in global studies on human values, is compassion. People who are compassionate with their fellow human beings are generally seen to be good people. Now, you also need to be honest. You need to be responsible, right? It's not enough to care. You also have to actually do good work as judged by other people to be good. And that's what we're talking about. When we talk about that as a humanistic leadership skill, we're talking about leaders who are supportive, that care about the people that they work with, and that prize being honest, open, ethical, and responsible to their fellow human beings. And wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice if our workplaces were like that? We're filled with people who you could trust. That would be fabulous. So these are what we're talking about when we talk about humanistic principles, when we talk about humanistic leadership or humanistic education. What we're talking about is taking these very common human values and applying them to whatever the project is, whether it's education or leadership or management or all of the above. All right. So what does it mean to be an ethical leader, a humanistic leader in a classroom? What does humanistic education mean? And for leadership and management, a humanistic leader is a support function. They're not the bossy boss. They're not like, hey, you do this and you do this. They're not telling people what to do, although they may do that. But the question is, what do people need in order to be able to do their work, right? It's not enough to tell someone to sweep the floor. If they don't have a broom, they're not sweeping the floor, because that requires a broom. So the job of the leader or the manager is to provide the resources that the individual needs to do whatever the work is. And in an educational setting, the teacher teaching humanistically is also thinking from the bottom up. What do my students need from me so that they can engage in the learning that they themselves want to engage in, right? It's not me telling them, oh, you need to learn this, although I could obviously suggest to them that they learn whatever I think they should learn. And I can give them the resources to that, but it has to be the student that wants to learn this. Otherwise, they won't. So a lot of what the teacher is doing is looking at the individual student in the context of the whole and saying, how do I support you so that you not only want to learn this, but that you can learn this? What is going on that would help you? Do you need food? People don't learn well when they're hungry, right? So what is it that people need? I think that whatever workplace you're in, and I get asked this a lot, it's like, oh, I'd love to work in a more humanistic workplace. How do I do this when my managers or my leaders or my administrators aren't on board? And the answer is you just do it. You do not need anyone else's permission to be a good human being. You just decide, I'm going to be a compassionate, responsible, honest, ethical person in all my dealings with other people. And I'm going to use science and compassion and whatnot. And you just do it. You don't need anyone else's permission to be a dignified, professional, compassionate human being. That's who you choose to be. And when you run into problems with other people, because the reality is humans are difficult to get, we're difficult to get along with. Like, even if we're well-intentioned, we're difficult to get along with. So when you find yourself in those situations where maybe you're in conflict with someone, or someone is actively treating you badly and violating your dignity in some way, step back and say, okay, I'm feeling these emotions. That's normal. This person is not being the good professional person that she should be. But you turn around and you say, okay, I'm going to respond to this in a way that is dignified, professional, and compassionate. That's a choice you have to make. You do have to step back from the immediate onslaught of whatever is going on, so that you can make those strategic decisions about what it means to respond in a dignified, professional way. Because often our responses, you get in fight and flight mode with someone and you could fight, right? That's not dignified. And the other thing to understand is that your dignity cannot be taken away from you. Someone else might be behaving in an undignified way towards you, but you are in control of your own dignity. And if you act with dignity towards other people, including people who are difficult, you will be seen as a dignified person. This is like think of the person you think of as most dignified, and they're probably behaving in a very compassionate, very measured way in difficult situations, right? So emulate that. Think about what it means to be dignified in whatever situation you're in, and how to apply your compassion to the situation, to yourself first and to everybody else, and what a good outcome would be in a difficult situation. That's what it means to practice humanism. It's not easy, right? But in every situation, you have to kind of decide, what is the right thing to do here? What is the compassionate, responsible, ethical thing to do here? That is the practice of humanism. So I hope this helps, and I want to again thank Dr. Munir Musa for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts with you, and best of luck in all that you do.